Hey guys, what's up? KillJoy Jake here, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Today we are pitting Willy's Wonderland against Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This might seem like a weird matchup, but after rewatching both of these movies, wow, are they really similar. But in the end, which film is better? We're gonna get into that in just 1 second here, but before I do that, I'm gonna need you guys to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Also, make sure to check out my Patreon, the link is in the description below. Alright, now let's get into it.
Get over here!
Now before I talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, let's talk a little bit about these films. Killer Klowns from Outer Space is a 1988 horror comedy written and directed by the Kyoto brothers. As the title would suggest, the film is about killer clowns from outer space that come to Earth to do the thing all clowns love to do: kill. It's considered to this day to be one of the best B-horror movies ever made. It's a perfect mix of cheesy, schlocky, and silly. Willy's Wonderland is a 2021 film directed by Kevin Lewis and written by Geo Parsons. It notably stars Nick Cage, and although there is a wild plot to this movie, it's really just about the evil animatronic puppets that try to kill Mr. Cage. Thank God there weren't any giant bees in this movie though. Not the bees! Willy's Wonderland has become an instant cult classic, garnering its small following from all of the promotion it's gotten online. And it was well deserved, even if the reviews for the films are pretty mixed. So who will win this crazy horror battle of killer clowns from outer space or animatronic Chuck E. Cheese monsters? I don't know, let's get into the good. Starting off with Killer Klowns from Outer Space, I love the costume design and the set pieces for this movie. I love the iconic like tent spaceship thing, the people in the cotton candy cocoons. It's so iconic, like you see that and you know, oh, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, of course. And just the way the clowns look and their different characteristics, some of them are really fast and crazy and some of them are like slow moving and like just kind of chill. They all have like really different idiosyncrasies that I think is really cool. Because on the contrary of that, you could have just had a bunch of people in clown makeup running around in this film and just being like, ooh, I'm a crazy clown. That's not really how I would portray a clown, but maybe extras on a B-movie set. That might just be what you get, unfortunately. Very funny depending on what your definition of funny is. I'll tear this thing apart with my bare hands! The ridiculous lines of dialogue and the insane plot points of this movie makes for a great B-movie to watch with your buddies and crack open a cold one too. Has some really great and memorable kills. I usually don't like kills like this, but when the dude's doing the shadow puppets and then he like creates a T-Rex and it just kind of goes like whoop, boop, boop, and just kind of like yeets those people out of existence. It doesn't make any sense, but it's hilarious, it's iconic, and it makes for this crazy like movie magic kind of kill that just separates this from other B movies. I also love the cotton candy cocoons. You just see people like melting into blood in these things. It's so gross. I love it. I basically just love all the weird and abstract ways that the killer clowns kill people in this movie. If it's from acid cream pies or popcorn that turns into little baby clowns, this movie's got a crazy way of killing people. Moving on to Willy's Wonderland, the animatronic characters and the setting is very iconic. I'm gonna tell you right now, the pluses and minuses for both of these movies are so similar. And I pitted these movies against each other, not even realizing that. But after rewatching both of them, I'm like, wow, yeah, both of these movies really have a lot of pluses and minuses that are exactly the same. So I apologize if I seem a little repeaty. But just like I was saying, all the animatronic characters all kind of have their own personality. Like Tito speaks Spanish and he's like supposed to be like a Mexican turtle guy. Siren Sarah's like really fast and like really scary and honestly was kind of a show stealer. And then Cammy the chameleon, just like how her skin like changes colors and stuff, she tries to like trick one of the characters into like being her friend. But let's just say you don't want to be Cammy Chameleon's friend or you get a tongue wrapped around your neck and your neck breaks in a kind of crappy kill. Nonetheless though, I really appreciate how much work was done with the character backgrounds of all of the monsters in this movie, which, gotta hand it to this film, I think does it a little better than Killer Klowns. Although in Killer Klowns' defense, I think the kills in that movie are a lot stronger than the ones in this film, although all of them are still fantastic in Willy's Wonderland. Absolutely hilarious. Surprisingly, the humor is derived almost entirely from Nicolas Cage's character. When he takes the breaks, changing his shirt after every time he kills somebody, and then how sexual he gets with the pinball machine. If there was a love interest in this movie, it was that damn pinball machine, I'll tell you what. I don't know how that scene was more sexual than the actual sex scene in this movie. I don't know, man. Also has great kills. Like I was saying, I think Killer Klowns from Outer Space has a little more creative kills than this film. I will give the Killer Klowns that, but this film does do a really good job at making some iconic and classic kills. When Nighty Night shoves that sword through the dude, it's like, it's really unexpected, because it's kind of one of the first human kills we get in this movie, and I think it's the fact that it's one of the only things in this whole movie that comes across to me as like shocking. There's not really any like jump scares or anything like that. All the horror, so to say, is derived from like the kills. Nicolas Cage is so important to this movie. I can't believe I'm saying this, but without Nicolas Cage, this movie would not be nowhere near as good as it was. Sure, even for a B movie, it has its flaws, but Nicolas Cage not saying a word in this entire movie, an Oscar-winning actor being the star of this film, is what sets this aside from everything else. It's so unbelievably ridiculous, I can't believe this movie got made. On top of that, Nicolas Cage, without speaking an entire word of dialogue throughout this whole movie, gives a better performance than literally everybody else by a long shot. Oh my god, is the acting bad in this movie from literally every other character. Even for a B movie, it's bad. Alright, and now it's time to move into the... Oh, sorry guys, it's break time. Cool. Gonna crack open a cold one. Okay, back from break. Now let's get into the bad. Starting off with Killer Klowns from Outer Space, it's really tough to get through this movie, depending on your situation. Like I talked about in my Willy's Wonderland spoiler-free review, if you're watching this alone, or like you're in a bad mood or something, you're not gonna get through this movie and enjoy it. Killer Klowns from Outer Space is one of those movies that you have to be like in a group setting, you have to be in a particular mood to want to watch this movie. Because it's not actually a good movie, it's purposefully a B movie, it's purposefully bad. And it's a great movie to watch in like a group setting if you're drunk with a couple of your buddies, you know, like I was talking about before. But if you're trying to just casually watch this movie by yourself, like, for me at least, I don't think I could even get through it. The fun from this movie is actually derived from like people making jokes about what is happening on screen. It's meant to be so ridiculous and for you to not take it seriously. And where that is also kind of a plus, it's also kind of a minus, just depending on the situation. Like I've said in other Versus videos though, I'm not gonna like crap on a movie that's not trying to be any more than just like a little tiny B movie of something to make fun of. The Kyoto brothers were not trying to make an Oscar-winning movie here, obviously. So am I going to point out the flaws with the plot or how ridiculous some of the kills are? No, it doesn't make any sense, but that's what they were going for. With that being said though, it doesn't really have any scary parts, although it tries. Now with everything I just said before, this film does try to do some scary stuff here and there, not all the time. But when it does, it just misses, man. One of the biggest scenes I'm talking about here is the meat puppet cop. He's got his hand in the back of this dude's like skull or something, I guess. It's presented as a scene that's actually kind of scary, even though my way of describing it is really silly. It doesn't come off as scary though at all. Even the music gets a little scarier than like the rest of the soundtrack, but it just doesn't come off as trying to be scary. It would be really cool if you sprinkled in some stuff in this film that was like, ooh, wow, that's actually kind of spooky, holy crap, but this movie just doesn't succeed at that in my opinion. Moving on to Willy's Wonderland, this is also another tough movie to get through. I purposefully watched this movie in two different settings because I was kind of predicting this about this movie. Willy's Wonderland is not a fun movie to watch by yourself at 8 in the morning before you have to go into work. Something I learned very quickly. The difference between that and watching it with a bunch of your buddies is like night and day. Just like I was saying with Killer Klowns. What is being shown to you in that movie is obviously completely ridiculous, defies all logic, and is supposed to be made fun of. So to watch this by yourself in just like a casual setting is not gonna be a good time. So like I said with Killer Klowns, I'm putting it on the negative list. Because although this can be seen as a positive, it's also a negative. The beginning scene is so bad and could have fixed so many problems with this movie. One of the biggest problems with this entire movie is that it tries to explain itself. My friends thought it was really cool that we got to see like a backstory of Willy the Weasel, why he was possessed. Do I really even care though? No. What's so great about Killer Klowns from Outer Space is that you don't really get an explanation of why they're here. I mean, yeah, like they're feeding on humans, but like, where did they come from? How did their whole civilization start on like another planet? Who cares? We don't care about that. We just want to see a bunch of alien clowns killing people. Just like how in Willy's Wonderland, we just want to see a bunch of animatronic Chuck E. Cheese monsters murder kids. And you know what we didn't really get to see in this movie? animatronic Chuck E. Cheese monsters murdering kids. There's like one off-screen kill of a child, which I know sounds really messed up, but the one thing I was expecting from this movie is something we didn't get. The opening shot of this film should have been like 20 years before the film takes place, like before Willy's Wonderland shut down. Like maybe at a kid's birthday party or something, it's when the machine started acting up. You didn't have to have that whole backstory about like killers opening this place and oh, and they're also into satanic rituals and decide to put their souls in the animatronic robots. You could have cut all of that out and just had an extended beginning where you see like, you know, they're all just dancing and stuff, like the animatronic robots, they're dancing, they're having a great time at this kid's birthday party, and then suddenly Willy the Weasel just starts killing kids. It would be a really gory and silly way to open your film, in like a dark humor kind of way. Obviously killing kids isn't just like straight up funny or anything like that, but man, was it a missed opportunity not to start it that way. And then you could have also set up that the main girl character was like part of the birthday party instead of like some random couple that decided to clean up the place. She could have been at the birthday party where all the shit went down, but instead they give us this really crappy opening scene that was like, wow, this is how they're starting the movie? Ugh. But am I giving out the ugly award to either of these films? Nah, I really thought about it, but like, for what they were going for, I just couldn't do that, I don't think. But I believe the winner of this battle is gonna have to be Willy's Wonderland. Now that's probably gonna come as a shock to some people because Killer Klowns is like one of the best B movies ever made in some people's eyes. But the difference between that movie and Willy's Wonderland is Nicolas Cage. It's just the mind-blowing fact that you have Nicolas Cage in this movie. Like, how did that happen? I want to know the story behind this film. I want an entire documentary starring like actual A-list actors playing all the people that got this movie made, and like, I would love to see that movie. I would love to see a 2-hour doc just on Willy's Wonderland. At least for me, like I'm sure some people are just gonna be like, oh cool, Nick Cage is in a crazy movie about animatronic robots, whatever. I don't know how you can think that personally. To me, it's mind-melting. But what do you guys think about these results? Do you agree with me, or do you think Killer Klowns from Outer Space is the superior film? I will say it was a close call, so if you think that, I'm not gonna argue with you. Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching my video on Willy's Wonderland. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at KillJoyJake1 and on Instagram at KillJoy_Jake. Please consider supporting me on Patreon. The link for that will be in the description below. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.